Shai bursted onto the music scene in the early 90s with their breakout single, If I Ever Fall in Love. The group came together on the legendary campus of Howard University, which also so happens to be my alma mater. Since then, they have evolved into the group I have the honor of having a conversation with today. With that being said, let's get straight to it. I just want to start this off, just set the intention for this conversation, because I really want it to be more of like a conversation, less of like an interview, because I really feel like y'all have a lot to offer in terms of your knowledge and in terms of music, in terms of just life in general. So I'd first like to say thank you guys for pulling up. Let me do this.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Pleasure, brother. Oh, don't hurt nothing.
First question I wanted to ask you guys, though, and also if you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to ask.
What's your major?
My major?
Yeah.
So I majored in human performance with a focus in sports medicine and a minor in chemistry.
So what building is it? Hold the fuck.
I'm a pre-med student.
That's liberal arts, but all over. Well, fine arts, liberal arts.
No, it's COAS.
What'd you call it?
COAS. Arts and
COAS?
Sciences.
Oh, cultural science. Okay.
Yeah.
Co-arts. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm actually a pre-med student, so I'm back home studying for the MCAT
See,
now.
look,
so.
the reason I accepted this interview is because you reminded me of a young me.
Really?
When I saw you. I was like, that nigga look like how I used to look back in the day. Straight up, minus the whatever that is happening.
Hey.
That's just fly, nigga. No, I mean, that's just
No,
fly.
I got you.
You got hair like, but I was, man, I came in as a pre-freshman under the Dr. Boko Cole, rest in peace. She had this pre-freshman pre-med program.
Oh, okay.
And, but I didn't have the aptitude for that shit, bro. That shit was way beyond all the Caribbean students and the African students and the Indian students. They were leaps and bounds ahead of where I was in terms of I couldn't. But I start off pre-med down in the valley, chemistry major.
Yeah.
Dr. RFX Williams, this dude. And, but when I couldn't hack it in that shit, I stayed straight liberal arts.
Okay.
But as you can see, the fine arts part of me, I was never in fine arts, but Darnell, other group members, they were fine arts guys. And so with just my whole trek with your multiple,
Yeah.
and then I was liberal arts student council vice president, I ran for Houston.
Okay.
All these different little shits that people,
So what was your major when you
Well, by the time it was done, it was political science, minor
Okay.
history. But I started off as a chemistry major.
Gotcha.
Pre-med. I was pre-med to deal with the MCAT and all that crazy
Yeah.
shit. People losing their brain over it. That and stats in the other building. But that's dynamic, yo, bro.
Appreciate it.
You're going to be able to write your check.
Right. I just wanted to ask you guys, though, because y'all are all musicians, but like, how has music inspired y'all in terms of just leading towards your purpose? Or like, how has music directed where you put your energy towards?
I'll go first. All right. As you know, it's universal, right?
Right. Yeah.
So every note, every tone is healing. That's what I believe. In every person's soul, every person's existence, there's some sort of universal music. I mean, if you notice, anybody can listen. That's what brings people together, man.
Right,
Music
yeah.
brings a lot of love together, man. You could be having a bad day, man. Somebody throw on an old tune, man, that the whole house know, man. You may be mad at your cousin or your auntie or something like that, but you throw that tune on, everybody in the middle of the floor just doing they 1-2, you know what I mean? So it means to me, far as where I stand now, man, spiritually, man, it kept me whole, you know what I mean? Music kept me grounded. Without music, man, I don't think my whole existence as an entertainer, as a performer, artist would even be today, and doing this Shai thing too, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. For me, when you ask that question, you kind of put a lot in perspective because I was always gravitating to people like Stevie Wonder, John Coltrane, because I'm a straight ahead fan too. And they were always experimenting with like metaphysical, higher, esoteric.
Higher consciousness.
Yeah. And as a kid, listen to the lyrics and listen to their orientation in terms of what they wanted to get out of music and what they used it for. And they were my favorites, like Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway. Even though that sounds cliche, those guys, Public Enemy, those guys and especially the version in hip hop era when we got to Howard, like our party music was with knowledge of self, there's nothing I can't solve. In 360 degrees I revolve. It's an actual fact. It's not an act. Like that was what we was partying to. So that was our mainframe was kind of like rewired or wired towards a trajectory that represented some kind of like you do something with thisness.
Yeah.
And so that led me to Howard. Like I only applied to Howard. I didn't apply nowhere else because I ain't see no reason in high school to be applying to all these schools that I wasn't trying to go to. Like, why I'm paying all this money for an application just because y'all want me to be broad? I don't want to go to them places. I want to go there.
Right here.
And so if I get accepted there, I'll be there. If not, then I'll just have to sit it out for something. But I think that led me in a direction in terms of like consciousness-wise. And I never saw it as a primary piece. It was always something that I just enjoyed, loved. You know, I used to pop and break dance and shit in the hood. And it was like, you know, all the music, the brand Nubians came out, you know, Rakim Alive, Big Daddy Kane, 5% Nation's influence on hip hop. And just all of that appealed to my inner being. I was getting a lot of food out of KRS One.
Okay.
You know, that was in me. And those mantras that they were spitting were shaping my mindset. So I expected that out of musical genres, whatever I listened to. And so now we came into a musical, you know, entity that we became a thing. You know, we talked about some, you know, some real issues if you listen to explore some of our other songs on other albums like 95, different things. But the main thing was If I Ever wasn't a sexual song.
Right.
It was a song about some real stuff. Like, yo, you out there looking for somebody, after all that lust and stuff wear off, you better have a foundation that's a friendship, or else, you know, you ain't going nowhere. You're gonna be looking for that next one.
Yeah.
So even though it's couched in its beautiful harmonies and it's saying something that's real poignant and real that I think people of any generation can kind of relate to. And I think that did shape kind of like me and where I was headed, you know, especially, you know, because my favorite genre was straight ahead jazz. And, you know, like John Coltrane was always trying to find the essential or what made stuff where he was studying Indian musical scales and, you know, giant steps. You know, it's not a bunch of notes, but it's a bunch of keys put together as notes. It's crazy. Okay. And I was into that, you know, so it kind of shaped my mind frame. It did a lot. And Stevie's lyrics, without Stevie Wonder into the R&B world, where would R&B be?
Wow.
If he never had his influence on it, with his lyricism, you know, spawning people like the Charlie Wilsons of the world and just pretty much, you know, a whole bunch of people. And so, yeah, that's a good question, man.
Appreciate it.
That shaped me a lot.
What about you, man? In terms of just how music has influenced you or
Well, to take it a little further than what my brother right here was saying, music is healing. You know what I mean? Like he was saying, like, you know, you can be mad at somebody and you put on, you know, little Donny Hathaway or something like that and just start vibing, little Steve. Change your whole mindset, your whole, you know what I'm saying, your whole aura. So it's healing, you know what I'm saying? And for me personally, my background is gospel.
Oh, word.
You know,
Okay.
I started in gospel. It's in my DNA, man. My parents, my grandfather, they all sang, you know what I mean, in a gospel group. So I started out in gospel as a kid, and then I think I got my first record like that probably was personal. Like I think it was Michael Jackson, and that started changing my mind to R&B. You know what I mean? Then I went back and started listening to like the Blue Magic and all of that stuff, the '70s. You know what I mean? And that became like what molded me into this whole like R&B group thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, without music, man.
Imagine a world without it.
You know what I mean?
Lord knows where we would be at.
We done
Honestly,
killed somebody
like, for real.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Just super frustrated.
So how did you guys meet? This collective here, that's sitting
This
here.
iteration of Shai. So you can tell them.
I'll start it off and they can finish it off. Well, this Shai has been a brand since like the early 90s. But before Shai, there was also a school that was nationally known. I think, what was the name of the magazine that the principal, Joe Clark, they put him on the cover of Time. And I attended the school, Eastside High School, as well as Darnell. We attended the same high school. I actually went to the same grammar school as Darnell. We grew up together.
Dang, okay.
And growing up, his father actually managed this group that I was a part of from the movie Lean on Me, the school song. We did the school song in the movie Lean on Me, the 5 guys in the bathroom.
That's crazy.
You know what
Jerry
I mean?
Curl.
This guy.
Dang.
You don't want to go in there, Mr. Clark, and snakes.
My. Aren't you my little songbirds from the cafeteria? Weren't they with you?
Who, these guys?
Well, I'm sure you've learned the school song by now. You'd better know it. Because this time, if you don't get it right, you're suspended for 10 days each. Now, is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, then. School song. Let me hear it.
All right, fellas, let them hear it.
Fair East Side. Fair East Side. Fair East Side. By thy side will stand and always praise thy name. Praise thy name, praise thy name. To ever, yeah. Lend our hearts and hands to help increase thy fame. Ooh, Lord, the honor, yeah, of old East Side High, cause forth our loyalty. Loyalty, loyalty. So cheap.
All right, all right. Who taught you that?
Yeah, so we did that, you know, and his father used to manage us, and just growing up as kids, you know, going to his house, Darnell's house, his managers sitting down working on the piano with us, going through harmonies and vocal training and breath control exercises and things like that. At that time, you know, we're growing up, and I'm going to high school, and I'm on the band now, so me and Darnell is on the band, not knowing that Darnell, he's teaching me how to play the trumpet and stuff. So he's the actual captain of the trumpet section in Eastside High School. So we doing that, not knowing that I'm going to rehearsal at his dad's house with the group too as well, Riff. And we doing vocal rehearsals and stuff, and he's sitting there watching us. Remind you, I just told you, he was teaching me how to play the trumpet, right?
Right.
He came back to me a year later and said, hey, I got a song I want you to hear, right? Because he went off to college and stuff, right? He was a senior at that time, so he went off to college. We went down to Howard, the homecoming, right? The first homecoming, he's a freshman. Went down there, he said, hey, I need for you, man, I want you to hear, so I got a group. I was like, you got a group? Darnell, come on, man, you got a group? You can't even sing, man. You don't even sing. Watch. He said, I'll be back in like an hour. He came back an hour with him, Mark, no, you and Carl. It was Garfield and Carl. It was just 3 of them at the time. He was like, this is my group. I got a song I want you to hear. So they did If I Ever Fall in Love. I stopped them in the middle. I was like, wait a minute. Darnell, when did you learn how to sing, first of all? Or when did you know what I mean? When was you gonna tell me? I known you all my life, like since kindergarten, little teeny bopper. When was you gonna tell me you knew how to sing, you know? So they did the song for me. And during that time, my group, Riff, we already had our deal with SBK. And I was like, man, that song is hot. I was like, you know, I can get you $100,000 for that song tomorrow. He turned me down like, nah, I think this is the one for us, man. And about maybe 2-3 weeks later, they recorded it. They went and actually laid the vocals down on it. And it did what it did by itself. They didn't have, actually Howard radio station actually really was the first to really play it. I think it was a college station.
It was PGC too.
Yeah, PGC too.
That's
you know what I mean?
Got it to chart.
But just knowing that record did what it did without actually.
Yeah, before we got a deal.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without, I mean, and then we're promoting our stuff, Riff promoting our stuff, and we're hearing it all over the state while we're doing promotion on different radio stations. It was the #1 record in every city that we went to that we was doing promotion. And from that day on, I was like, they out of here. You know what I mean?
Well, so this is like first half of your Howard experience was when this was going down?
So these guys, well, I pick up from so Darnell and I were roommates freshman year at a place called Sutton Plaza because there was too many freshmen, so we didn't stay on campus in the freshman dorms. We stayed in Sutton Plaza, which is across from Eaton Towers, which is now a hotel. That's crazy, Eaton Towers Hotel.
Oh, that's deep.
Eaton used to be the all-female dorm, sister dorm to Sutton Plaza, 1230 13th Street. And that's where me and Darnell met, 17 years old roommates. But he had just come fresh out of East Side. And Riff, he used to have, me and him used to go over to Eaton and sing Riff songs because he had them in advance because his dad was the manager, singing those songs to the girls because Riff was already out there. And me and Darnell were aspiring, you know, but we never thought we were going to be out there. But once we got If I Ever and it started blowing up, and WPGZ took it and started blowing up, these guys were still out as Riff. We were starting to blow up.
Yeah.
And then at a certain time, you know, the duration of the moment, you know, Riff started going in different directions.
Yeah.
They, you know, Shai still full-fledged out, but some of the members of Riff went over to this guy, this G-Fly of a group called Men of Vision. You know, Let Me Be Your Housekeeper, stuff like that. R&B, they legends too. And so he was now in that group. And so Shai, we were still doing what we were doing, boom, boom, boom. And then our time kind of ran its course. And Last Man Standing was me and Darnell.
Okay.
And we were touring Germany, doing two-man shows, still doing the songs because our voice was kind of prominent. So the fans still accepted he and I, that iteration of Shai, just a two-man thing. But deep in our heart, we were like, man, we longing for that four-part harmony.
Yeah.
So Darnell, growing up with this guy right here, before Shai was even thought about, hit him up like, yo, man, you know what I'm saying? You know, what's up with you? You know, boom. And at that time, in the Vision, when they were starting to go in different directions, doing their little thing, you know, boom, boom. And he was like, yo, my man, you know, I'll bring my man over for that fourth part. And this is like damn near 20 years ago. Jesus Christ, man, 15 years ago or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Full
then,
circle, it's crazy.
Yeah, and so then they became a part of Shai. You know, this last iteration of Shai has been together for 15 years.
Nice.
Including this brother, but they were cats who were down in the movement of R&B and around us before Shai was even formed.
Right.
So it's not like we just picked up some guys
Some
and sing.
random,
Like these are
yeah,
brothers,
just-
like, you know.
Yeah, Spencer, he
Did he do that to you? Did he call you Spencer? Spencer Fly.
I heard it, right?
he
MC8, I get
no,
you back,
he-
son.
you know, he used to dance for Queen Latifah anyway.
Damn.
Him and Omar Epps. Omar Epps. Yeah. Omar Epps. They were Queen Latifah dancers before he's actually formed a group with Omar Epps, because Omar Epps was actually original member of Men of Vision. So before Omar was actually doing the acting, he was actually a R&B singer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Him and George was in a group together, and they was doing background for Queen Latifah and stuff like that. They was doing they running man on the stage. Queen Latifah.
So you can dance for real, right?
And he was in Juice too. He was in Juice too.
I'm on 1-2 step now, you know what I mean?
I'm totally once too. I ain't gonna even
1-2
hold
step
you.
now, man.
He's been working alongside, you know, like I said, with Men of Vision, MJJ, which is Michael Jackson's label, through Sony. So we were signed through them once I transitioned over to Men of Vision from Riff, you know, and it was funny how that happened, because like George was saying, you know, we come from a spiritual church background anyway, you know what I'm saying? So even growing up as like 11, 12 years old, you know, we were familiar with each other, me and George, and you know what I mean? See, it was like a whole different atmosphere, whole different zone, because during that time, knowing Darnell too, I was also set knowing George also, but in a whole different zone, you know what I mean? So he was also based around what I was evolving, you know, bringing
Into,
to,
but
you
like,
know,
it was still in a different
way,
time,
And growing up, singing gospel on the road, traveling, you know, one of his group members named Spanky, once they lost 3 members, you know, they went through their transition at the record label. One of his group members, Spanky, was like, yo, we need 3 members, man. And my brother at the time, he was also in Riff too. He was at a service gospel program, and him and Spanky started talking. They exchanged number. And at that time, when they needed that 3rd member, Spanky found the number in his clothes that he was about to wash. And he said, wait a minute, this is my other 3 members here.
Yeah.
And so him and George spoke about it, and they got together. They went up to the label, Sony, and they spoke to Teddy and everything, man, and figured it out from there, man. I'll let you take from there, G.
Wow, well, you already said it, son. So and then, you know, after that happens, then we become members of Shai. And now we here, 15 years later, brother.
So are you guys college educated as well?
No.
No.
Okay, because I want to ask you this question because you are PhD'd, you know what I'm saying? What has been like the importance of your education in terms of like, obviously you had the Shai success or the success with Shai, and I'm sure you could have gone a different route, but why did you choose to continue your education afterwards?
Well, my parents were like educator types. My dad worked for the National Education Association, which is kind of how I got to Howard, because he had a conference one year during my spring break, and he said, hey man, you want to come to DC with me? And when I go do this meeting, he dropped me off at Howard on a Friday at 5 minutes to noon, sitting in the steps of Fine Arts Building. And then the doors opened up at noon, and all them pretty women came out of the doors all over Douglas and everywhere. And I was hooked. That's how I got to Howard based on that. But my dad was an educator. My mom in Montgomery, you know, she's a voting member, voting delegate for the National Democratic Conference, and she worked for the Alabama Education Association. And so education was a prominent theme in my world. Yeah. It was like and then I attended my first through third grade years on the College of Alabama State Early Childhood Center, which was an extension of their early childhood education. So I was a kid that if you go to college, during the football games, he'll be on the sideline with the players, or in the basketball game, he'll be the one that out on the court when nobody else can get out there, but this little bitty bad kid out there shooting, and you're like, how he get out there? That was me. Like I was like the little poster child. So college, the reality of blacks going to college was always something that I thought was just a normal. And so when I finally matriculated, got out of high school, it was clear that I was going to, in my mind, like that's just what you do as a black person, you go to college. And I wanted to go to a black college. I wanted to go to Howard specifically. And that started my trajectory, and when I got to Howard, I couldn't just go to Howard. I had to be actively involved. I was a member of Black Nia Force. I was a member of the Nation of Islam. And I ran for Liberal Arts Student Council Vice President, won. Okay. Ran for HUSA, student, president, lost by 190 votes, but it was 6,000 people turning out to vote. It was like the biggest.
So you was right there.
Yeah, I was right there. But it was deep because it was political, because I was in the Nation at the time. It was like the Nation, and the other guy, Ivan, was the young guy on campus who was the representative of the young NAACP.
Oh, okay.
It was like the Nation versus the NAACP. Yeah. And so, of course, at the time, it was a bitter pill for a lot of people to swallow the Nation of Islam like that. But I was kind of a new face of it, and people genuinely like me. So it was kind of like I opened up a little more minds towards what it could be about through me. So it was kind of like, in that way, it was kind of positive. But it was dope, and education was just always a part of my move. But I was always opposed to just either orness. I'm always a both and kind of guy. Like if you have gifts in you, you're gonna grow up old and bitter if looking back, talking about, I wonder what would have happened if I would've. Right. And if you got the capacity to do your dreams and do something that's kind of like that you can so-called fall back on, or you should just do it all. You shouldn't limit yourself in those ways. You know what I mean?
I'm trying not to.
And I see you. That's why I tell you. I see you. Yep. And so I was on that way back at 17. I was a part of that kind of mindset, and I'm still like that.
Okay. Yeah. So, what are the chances y'all host an audition for a fifth member? I can sing a little bit.
I know you can. You look like you can sing.
I can do a little something.
You do it all, huh, young man?
I don't know, man.
Man, you gonna wind up somewhere dope.
Hey, I appreciate that.
I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna follow you. Like, see what you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, you don't even have no idea where it's gonna end up being. You think
I know I don't.
It's gonna be somewhere dynamic, because what you're gonna have to end up doing for your own sanity is zipping up all these sides of yourself into this one thing. You're gonna create a lane.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna not feel complete in this one thing that's neglecting the other things. You're gonna need some of that in your thing, and you're gonna end up creating some kind of apparatus, some kind of thing that has all of those parts.
All of them into one.
And whatever that's gonna look like, that's gonna be dope to see.
Appreciate that.
Word up.
So, on like kind of piggybacking off of that, what's been like the most rewarding part of y'all's like journey through music?
Man, that's crazy. I think we get rewarded every night when we go out on that stage, and no matter where we are performing, man. If I ever come on, it's like we just came out.
Wow, yeah.
It's like to be able to be on stage and can count on knowing what the reaction is already gonna be, no matter what demographic you're in front of. I don't care if it's a stuck-up Hollywood people or if you're in the hood of hoods with Bloods, Crips. No matter where you are, when that joint come on, you know they're gonna be like, yo, that's what. It's been proven. So confidence-wise, we're able to go into spaces knowing that we got something that they're gonna like. Yeah. And as an artist, that eases a lot of angst You know, you could just really be free, knowing that they're gonna feel us.
Yeah.
I know they're gonna feel us.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling. That's rewarding in and of itself. You know what I'm saying?
Same for you? Same for both of y'all?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I can't lie.
Yeah.
So I have one more question for y'all. What's like a song within y'all's discography that you wish more people knew about? Because I know y'all's
That's a good
discography is
one.
deep. I've listened to a good
great.
bit of it, but like, what's one of y'all favorites that's like,
That's
you know, a little
great.
more low key?
For me, Place Where You Belong.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That was off the soundtrack,
Beverly Hills Cop 3.
the Beverly Hills Cop 3, yeah, exactly. But I don't think a lot of people got to really hear the essence of that song. Like, I love that song.
I love that
You know
too,
what I mean?
man. Trey Lorenz co-wrote that, and we usually didn't have a lot of people co-writing with us. We wrote all of our
He was
material.
dope. Trey was dope.
But Trey Lorenz came in and co-wrote that.
Nice.
And the label didn't particularly like it. But then when the Sony Films liked it and decided to use it as the kind of key single for that movie, then the label kind of like brought in and they combined to like market it. But then when the movie flopped, MCA pulled out their money and it was climbing. It was about to be top 10. And when the pullout happened, you know what I mean? But a lot of people dug that song. I love it. But one of my personal favorites is two.
Okay.
That I thought were like, that could have been crazy. It's one called Together Forever that we did. That's like a
mine too, yeah.
beautiful, almost wedding.
That was my next
It's just
song.
really, and Darnell sung his butt. Mark too. Mark wrote that all on his own. Mark Gay. And then the other one, we did this song on the Blackface album called Mr. Turn You Out. That was dope, man. Like, I was in your dream. Like, it was what's it experimental monogamy. That's what Carl Martin is a great writer in our group. You know, he was one of the first who wasn't with us no more because he tried to pursue his own thing. But I had to always give him, and we didn't always get along the best.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I totally would never take away from his ability to lyrically write. He's dope. And
Carl's going into films?
you know, he dabbled and dabbled in a
Okay.
lot of things.
Okay.
You know, he's crafty. He's a techie kind of guy.
Gotcha.
But he was the one early on that was the business savvy one out of
Okay.
us. We were just these artist dudes trying to.
Just trying to make
Carl
music
kind of
and-
knew what he was trying to get out of. You know, he knew a lot of business stuff about points and royalties. We didn't have no clue what that stuff was at that time, but he did, and he had a good pen. But that I always thought about that, like experimental monogamy. And the other one is we did a song with Jay-Z, a remix.
I was going to ask y'all about
man.
that.
Tonight.
Yes, yeah.
And it blew up in New York, but the label never
man.
did a video for it, so people he didn't catch the kind of traction he could have got had we done a video.
Yeah.
And it's because we paid for it. Like, they didn't put money behind. We
was
went
out
to
of your
Marley
pocket.
Mall, paid him $5,000. He said, yo, I got this new cat that I think will be dope on there, and it was Jay-Z. At the time, he had just done Foxy Brown, Ain't No, and he put him on there and did 3 verses on a rap joint, and that came out.
Yeah.
You know, it was dope. You know? So I wish more people knew about that too.
Now, to bounce off of that, it's one more joint too now. KRS-One.
Yeah, Destiny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the song with KRS-One?
That's
Yes,
the
the
thing.
only
That
time he
one-
ever collabed with an R&B group was us, and we did a song called
Wait.
Destiny.
Dang. I'm about to listen to that right after this.
Destiny was a song we wrote, and he dug it. And Darnell did the beat. The beat was crazy. Darnell produced the beat. Kara was like, I like that
Nice.
one. You know,
That's
he
sick.
said, "Can I rhyme on that one?" Then he's like, "Do you have any more like these?" You know what I'm saying? And Chris killed it. I mean, he talked about Clinton, Phyllis Hyman. You know, Phyllis Hyman. It's the same she had to die, man. But oh man, he was like, Destiny calls him, he answer. It's just a lot of stuff on there. But Destiny Shai means destiny in human form. That's why we called the song Destiny.
Okay.
And Karis loved the concept, and he never did anything with an R&B group before, except for us, because he was feeling what we was talking about. And it was like a what's going on, like Marvin Gaye kind of content of the song.
Okay.
And he felt it. And yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna look into that. Well, I appreciate y'all sitting down, chopping up with me.
Thank
Don't
you,
want to
bro.
take up too much of your time. It's a pleasure.
Oh, man, thanks for having
Pleasure's
us once
ours,
again,
man.
man.
I wish you all the success, man. I already know you don't even need it.
Blessings, young man. Definitely.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
How old are you right now?
22.
Oh,
22.
man. Much success, man. For
Thank
real.
you, bro.
I mean, what's your birthday?
April 9th,
April. What's that?
Aries.
That's an Aries. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with some of the signs, but I know you're gonna be successful. I do know that.
I appreciate that, bro. for real.
Absolutely,
Been
bro.
some things
Yeah.
walking through here.
I know. I'm seeing the
I'm
one
trying
that's
to
been
get focused on the cake.
I almost lost focus about 5 times.
Let me give this man his pen.
See the things walking past me.
No, I didn't.
He's 22.
He said,
I ain't gonna lie.
He's focused. He's focused. He's focused. He's focused. He's focused.